You know, you're the second expert I've interviewed this week that said to stick to the outskirts of the grocery store. So I think that is a hot tip this week.
Awesome.
That's where
Awesome.
you got your meat, your veggies, or the dairy. You got to stick to the outskirts and stay away
Yes.
from the aisles. That's where we don't need to be.
Yes, definitely.
I watched a video on your channel speaking about the dirty dozen. And
Okay.
this was
Yes.
in regard to pesticides. And I would
Yes.
love to dive into that because that's something that I don't consider when I feed my kids. I think, oh, blueberries, brilliant. But I don't
Yeah.
even think about what is involved in the production of our fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, glyphosate is a big pesticide that's sprayed on lots of fruits and vegetables these days. It's sprayed on wheat, and that's why gluten is got so
Okay.
many pesticides on it as well. A lot of the cereals that come out of Kellogg's are full of pesticides, and so if you want to avoid pesticides, because you think of pesticides as a toxin,
Yeah.
it's creating toxins in your garbage can. It's filling it up. And so we like to sort of take a wide net and go, how can we reduce that inflammation? How can we reduce, that inflammation going on in the body and what's contributing to it? A really good way is to focus on organic food. Now, let's be real. If we're eating a 100% organic diet, it can get expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what I teach the families that I work with is to go to an organization called the EWG, so ewg.org. Every year, they put out something called the Dirty Dozen and the
Okay.
Clean 15. So,
Okay.
the Dirty Dozen is the top 12 fruits or veggies that have the highest level of pesticide residue on it.
Okay.
Okay. And so, really, if you're going to be eating fruits and vegetables that are on that list, you must buy them organic. Okay.
Okay.
The clean 15 are the top 15 foods that have the least amount of pesticide residue on it. So, if you,
You can balance your shopping budget.
exactly. And then
That is
everywhere in between is based on your budget. The more organic, the better. But let's focus on really where we need to if we are on a limited budget.
that is incredible advice. You mentioned water. So
Yes.
when you say the toxins in water, is that stick to bottled water and avoid tap water?
Look, water across America is really diverse. You've got some areas in America that is filled with so many heavy metals and so many toxins.
Okay.
You can go to a company called My Tap Score, and they actually have home water tests that I actually interviewed them on my podcast not too long ago. And they actually have tests that you can do at home and test your water to see what's in it. So you can be informed, you know.
Yeah.
Look, bottled water, I'm not going to bring into the mix that we want to try and avoid plastics as much as possible. But if you can buy a water filter,
Yeah.
I've got this something called a Berkey. It filters out most of the stuff that's in our tap water, and so you buy it once rather than like spending all your money on all these bottles.
Yeah.
And also like the plastic bottles, they're bad for the environment. They can
Yeah.
be bad for our health, and that's what I would normally recommend. But the more water that we can drink, the better. I know a lot of families out there going, "Oh, my kid doesn't like water; he only wants to have juice." Some really good tips to get them to drink water is you can actually infuse fruit in the water.
Yeah.
So things like watermelon and mint, get a jug, put water in it, put watermelon and mint in it, pop it in the fridge overnight, and it's got that infused flavor in it. Oranges and limes. You know how like sometimes mums, if you're listening, you go to the spa and
Yeah.
they've got those
Cucumber water, whatever they have.
beautiful
Yeah.
waters, and you're like, oh, that tastes so nice. Super easy, super cheap, and you can get your kids to drink more water.
Amazing. I have two other strategies that I've seen in your research that I wanted to talk about because I've spoken to another expert this week who spoke so highly of our need for sunlight.
Yes.
Is that applicable here to children with ADHD?
1000%. One of the top supplements that I recommend that kids with ADHD take is actually vitamin D. But, vitamin D comes from the sunlight.
Yeah.
And so most people in America are deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is so crucial for so many processes in our body and so much to do with mood and behavior as well. And so it's
Yeah.
critical to ensure that you're not deficient. The best way to get it is get outside in the sunlight as much as possible, especially first thing in the morning. So it resets our circadian rhythms. It helps
Yes.
us with our sleep cycles, things like that. But I will tell you, that there are some people that have genetic mutations in their body that actually prevent them from being able to convert the vitamin D from the sunlight into its active form and
Okay.
also transport that vitamin D to where it needs to go and also absorb that vitamin D. I'm actually one of those people. And so I am chronically low in vitamin D. No matter how much time I spend out in the sun, I am still low in vitamin D. So I'm one of those people that actually have to supplement year round with vitamin D twice a day, morning and lunch. I don't do it in the evening because we want to still mimic our when the sun
Yeah.
lights up. But because I'm chronically low, even when I'm out constantly, I need a supplement. So some people may be like that. Others may be able to get enough from the sun. If you live in places like Seattle, where I live, you know that the sun is not up very often during the fall and the winter. So, most likely, you are going to have to supplement as well. But sunshine is so critical to the health and the mood and the balance of our emotions and our well being.
Amazing. Yeah, that is what the other expert was saying, and about um taking it through the eyes as well. So to
Yes,
kind of pull down
not
the sunglasses a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
My husband wears contacts and glasses, and I was like, "You're not getting enough sun. You need to
Yeah.
go out there
Yeah,
blind
you
one day."
definitely like there's a lot of people say don't actually even wear sunglasses. You
Yeah.
want that directly into the eyesight, and the sunglasses will actually filter out
Mhm.
the type of light that you need in order to get that vitamin D.
Wow. Another thing is breath work, which I feel
Mhm.
now, my own ignorance, when I hear breath work, I think that's not for kids, that's for adults. But are there breath work strategies to use with a child with ADHD?
Yeah, look, there's so many, and it's definitely one of those things that's needed. You want to breathe for the brain. Not only is it great to learn how to do it at a young age and implement it as a daily practice, because when you actually need to pull on it later in life, it's going to be your normal. You know,
Yeah.
I know how to do that. I always say, I've said it many times that I just wish my mom or my dad, I don't blame them at all, but
No.
I wish that they had taught me how to meditate or how to do breathing at a young age, because it would have come so naturally to me when I really started to suffer from anxiety in my 20s. I suffered terribly. I was on medication. But knowing what I know now, and implementing gut health and diet things, I haven't been on medication for years. But if I had known those breathing techniques, it really would have helped me get through those challenging years in my life. So start now, even if it's
Yeah.
5 minutes a day. Just before bed, do it with your child, and then gradually increase it, and so they can pull on that. The other thing is, if you think about it, when we breathe, we're bringing in oxygen,
Yeah.
where that oxygen's going into our body, but we don't even think about breathing. Okay. We just don't,
No.
it just
Yeah.
happens naturally. But if you just stop and you actually bring in some big, deep breaths and breathe up into our brain, think about that oxygen that's getting flooded
Yeah.
up into our brain. And you can actually feel it when you focus on it. And so it doesn't have to be a hard, convoluted process. You don't have to spend hours meditating. When you've got children, just starting slow, starting somewhere,
Yeah.
um, and just even a couple of minutes a day, it then becomes your new normal. If you do that every day for 3 weeks, you are now one that does
Yeah.
breathing techniques. You're
I'm
now
just
one.
thinking to myself now, with my kids, I never thought of myself as doing any breath work with them, but I guess if they do have a kind of a meltdown or there's a tantrum starting, I'll do take a deep breath. And
Yes.
for me, I'm just trying to buy some time. I'm just trying to let me get a bit of silence to think about my next move. But I suppose that is kind of a coping technique that will stand to them then when
Yeah.
they're an adult or a teenager, whatever it is, and something overwhelming happens, they'll probably naturally say, okay, take a deep breath. and then go forward.
Exactly. But the best time that you can teach them to take that deep breath is not actually in the moment. And so
Mm.
if you do it regularly, when they're relaxed, then they can pull on it really, really quickly when they are in the moment, and they can self-regulate themselves. They can know, rather than waiting for mum to go, take that deep breath now, they will
They
know.
just do it themselves.
Exactly.
Hey guys, I would like to take a moment to introduce you to our app, Yoga Plus. You will have access to an incredible selection of videos led by top instructors in yoga, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Download our Yoga Plus app, available on iOS and Android today.